Hi, Professor Beaton. This is Lonnie Meneses, and today I'm going to be talking about stress and adverse childhood experiences. I picked this topic because I think that it is something very important that sometimes we forget about as individuals, and then eventually we will become parents. So I really wanted to talk about and discuss how we can make sure that children grow up being the best version of themselves that they can be, and how to prevent them from developing any physical or emotional traumas in their life. So first I'm going to explain and define what stress in children looks like. So when there is stress present in children's lives, it can vary from many different things. Often it is situational and it has to do with the child's personal life. It also has to do with biological matters that come from either parents or how the child copes with things that are beyond their understanding, and personal matters, like I said before, that also have to do with how they're dealing in life. Stress in children is often presented in two ways. It's either positive or negative, and I'll go more in detail a little bit later about how that shows in their life and what one can do in order to alleviate the situation if it's either way. So, what is the difference between positive or negative stressors? So, positive stressors have to do with beginning something or starting something or even adding something to their routine that wasn't there before. So, when it comes to beginning something, it could be like beginning school if a child wasn't in school before, beginning a new hobby or a new activity that they incorporated into their lives that they hadn't before, also starting new routines, etc. And then a negative stressor in children is the opposite, which is loss or change or just removing something that maybe they had before and is now no longer present in their lives. So this could also include the loss of a family member, the loss of an activity or hobby, changing from schools, just something that completely either changes their routine or their lifestyle or takes something away that they were originally used to. Alongside these positive and negative stressors, there are also stressors that are mostly presented in modern times for children, which include schoolwork and grades, then family matters such as divorce or financial problems, also including puberty, bullying, etc. We should be really careful and monitor how these children are dealing with all the stressors presented in modern times, since it has been shown that they are all prone to cause lifelong consequences that do not only include mental traumas but also physical traumas that can lead to illness or worse. In this slide, we will be talking about physical and mental traumas, which is one of the psychological constructs that I included in my presentation. Like I mentioned before, physical and mental traumas often derive from the stressors that I mentioned before, as well as other biological reasons that make them prone to dealing differently with situations in life. So some of the physical traumas that can come from either a stressor, biological, or personal matter include decreased appetite, changes in eating habits, headaches, new or recurrent bedwetting, nightmares and sleep disturbances, upset stomach or stomach ache, etc. These usually are very easy to find, and children will often show these symptoms more than not, but it is still very important that we try and understand that these can not only be causes of illnesses presented when you are young, but it can also be symptoms that maybe these stressors are beginning to show in these children. Alongside physical traumas, there are also mental traumas, which include anxiety and worry, feeling unsettled, new and recurring fears, clinginess, mood outbursts, crying, whining and anger, aggressive behavior, unwillingness to participate, etc. Sometimes parents often shrug these away as being symptoms of just being a child and not actual symptoms of having a mental trauma for a presented issue or anything else that the child might be dealing with. So I think it's very important to be able to spread this information so parents can find these traumas in their children and start dealing with them or try and find solutions so the child can be alleviated from them. So I really wanted to talk about this topic because I do think that it is very important to start looking at children and how they deal with their daily lives in order to ensure that the future citizens of the world will have physical, mental, and happy lives. So, right now, with the situation of the world, with the coronavirus and everything that's going on and reflecting on children, I wanted to go ahead and use this as my current topic that I discussed in my essay. So, in this slide, I will be talking about what the coronavirus is and how it has affected young children. So, what is the coronavirus? So, the coronavirus disease, also known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by newly discovered coronavirus. And just as it has impacted our personal lives, it has also impacted all class systems in different ways. This means that every single kid all throughout the world has been impacted in some matter to this presented issue. And COVID-19 has truly increased stress in kids' lives due to the fact that their routines have been dismantled, schools have been closed, their social interactions have been reduced, and just as a lot of people are dealing with financial issues and other issues that are presented by the coronavirus, it has truly reflected on the children from all of these stressors. So this is my first part out of two parts of my response to the coronavirus situation with children. I think that if you are a mother, a father, or if you have a young sibling that's going through this, or even if you just know a young kid that's staying at home and is not dealing as well with the matter as we wish they would, then this will provide some knowledge and insight so you can go ahead and maybe try and alleviate the situation or just become a source of support for them. So, the University of Iowa Stead Family's Children released a hospital article by Dr. Nielsen this year in May, which covered a lot about the COVID-19's outbreak, and it really emphasized on the effects on young children and their families, and it acknowledged how severe this time truly is for them. As we've seen on the news and how the media is covering the situation, we have acknowledged that a lot of families are in deep financial issues, which often reflects on the children's behavior or mood. It also reflects on mental health problems, which can also be reflections from either the parents, the siblings, or whoever they're sharing the home with. So the article also stresses on the importance on having good mental health conditions, not only for children, but also for teens who are also stuck at home with the children and can be reflections not only to their parents, but also the young kids that are with their older siblings. So just as we know, because we are all dealing with the same situation, no one is being spared from the COVID-19. We're all stuck at home, and hopefully you are staying in, staying away from people, and staying safe. But no one is spared from long-lasting mental disparity. So if you are a young kid or if you are, in your early stages of life, then one must make sure that we are trying to stay mentally healthy, and this issue, which has been stretched out for a long time and who knows how longer it will be present in our lives, we need to make sure that we are acknowledging these problems so we can alleviate them and make sure we eliminate them before they become a bigger issue in our long lives. So, this article was really helpful as well because just as much as I acknowledge what is going on in the world at the moment and with these children, it also provided a lot of solutions as to how we can prevent it from becoming a lasting issues in our life. So I will go ahead and talk about that in the next slide. So before this slide, I have already talked about negative stressors, and I will be using these as my psychological construct, and I will be tying it in with how these children are dealing with this and COVID-19. So I will start by saying that COVID-19 has truly appeared to be a negative stressor in children's lives. The reason why it has appeared to be a negative stressor is because these kids are dealing with things such as routines that have been removed from their daily lives or altered, also loss of social interactions and lack of learning, which all ties with them staying at home, not being at school, not interacting with their friends, or not interacting with their teachers, which is often a big stressor in children's lives when there is such a big change, such as school closing and not being able to go outside. It may be presented in a way that is so drastic that it takes a lot for a child to understand. And like I mentioned in my comment on the right, I said that although these are commonly known as negative impacts in an individual's lives, these young children cannot often identify the presence of stress as a detrimental impact, especially a negative stress. And in the meantime, this can cause lifelong consequences, and it often ends up with the child growing up and paying the consequences for it. So this is my part 2 response to COVID-19, and like I mentioned in the slide before, I will be talking about the article that I read and the suggestions they gave in order for us to cope with COVID-19. So the first point that I'm going to be addressing is how beneficial it would be for children to communicate with technology. We are incredibly blessed that we have a lot of technology means in modern times. So you can use things such as Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, or even by sending a text or calling someone would really help children enhance their social skills and maybe talk to friends and family that they are not quarantined with or that live far away. Also, if possible, a lot of children have been recommended to stay in touch with their teachers in order to continue to find ways to learn and in order to just keep up with their schoolwork. So that's bullet point number 1. Then bullet point number 2 is to go outside or outdoors. And I know a lot of people are in fear of going outside, and there's a lot of laws in place that say that it is not the best for us to be interacting with other people. But the media and the government has recommended for families, especially for young children, to go outside and enjoy the nature and enjoy the fresh air. So I would recommend to go to a park or to a trail where you can be away from people, but you can still enjoy nature and feel like you have a little bit more control in your life than just feeling isolated at home. I think this would really help children, and like the article says, this would be key for them to just continue exercising and to feel like they are not stuck inside all day. So that is bullet point number 2. Then bullet point number 3 is something that can seem really difficult now that we are all clustered in one home, but giving children space to grow is still super important no matter the circumstance. Sometimes it's really hard when you are a parent or a sibling to avoid someone that you are constantly in contact with, especially at home. And they're the first person you see when you wake up and the last person you see when you fall asleep. But it is super important for parents to give children space to grow, so letting them be independent and giving them time for themselves, having some me time so they can grow intellectually and emotionally is still super important, and they can go ahead and find ways to entertain themselves and ways to cope that will in the long run help them in many other ways when they're older. So that's another point. And then in bullet point number 4, they have also been recommending arts and crafts for children. If you go on social media or if you turn on the TV, you will see that a lot of people are encouraging families and their children to do a lot of arts and crafts. You can find a lot of arts and crafts online, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Facebook, and sometimes you don't even need to order anything or leave the house in order to make something super fun and super crafty. So that's bullet point number 4. And bullet point number 5 is to remember to have a full balanced meal. So sometimes it's super easy when we're at home to feel lazy or to let fatigue just take the best of us or to find ways to just take out every day. But regarding the situation, I think this is a good time to remember that children need their nutritional values in order to grow and be strong in their best versions of themselves. So having a full balanced meal that includes fruits and vegetables would be the best way for them to feel healthy and to continue growing. And then the next bullet point is to continue learning from home. So now that school is closed, a lot of kids might not be incredibly motivated to continue learning, or maybe they're just not used to learning by themselves or without people around them and other kids. So they have recommended to find educational videos online that can not only teach them whatever they were learning at school, but maybe learn a few other things that they will cover soon or that they need in order to succeed at school and just in their personal lives. So educational videos are excellent, and there's also some educational apps that you can download if you have the right technology means. So that is also another suggestion. And then the last one, which is really important, and I think we have all started to realize that it is a plus when we are all stuck at home, is that we have had time to spend time with our loved ones. So being at home should and is something that we are stressed about and that we should be stressed about since we don't have a routine. But it is super important that for young kids, start realizing that being at home is time for them to be with their parents. It's super important for parents to make time for their children and to show them love and care and just support them emotionally, because it is a tough time not only for the adults or older teenagers that might deal with these issues of anxiety and depression and stress, but also for young kids that need the support and need the attention and love. So when they grow up, they have the right support system to maintain them throughout their life. So I will be concluding my presentation with this. And as a closing note, I just want to say that we are going through some really hard times at the moment, but I hope that from this presentation, it opened your eyes that we have all gone through stressors and circumstances when we were younger that might have made us some type of way or have hindered us in some type of way. So we were lucky that we didn't go through this circumstance when we were younger. So we should really keep in mind that there are children that are way younger than us and children that really need our help throughout this time, and maybe their families do as well, in order for them to grow and just feel physically and mentally happy. So please take the information that I said here as a learning tool and a learning lesson and to spread the awareness. And if you are a mother or a father, or if you have a young sibling, or if you just know someone, a neighbor or a friend that is young and struggling with COVID-19, that everything's going to be okay, and that the more we learn and the more coping skills that we learn to utilize in our lives will just make us happier and make this process way easier. So when other adversities come to us, we can just channel these skills and do the best we can with them. So thank you, and I hope you have a great summer.